I mean, but I tell you, when you think about onboarding, recruiting, we have seen the shift already in recruiting. Social recruiting is now the norm. Almost every organization uses some level of social technologies, whether it's internal, external, or combination, to improve their recruiting. We've already seen a transformation in the recruiting paradigm, and we can see it across each and every one of the processes that we're looking at here. What's interesting, though, is with all of these opportunities, the reality is we haven't yet seen a huge adoption of social in our applications. We took a survey at the start here, and we found that 38% were actively using social in their talent management. I'm telling you, the people on this call are early adopters. You guys are the innovators, and good for you, because the reality is we're not seeing that much adoption yet. And a big reason isn't because there's all that resistance. There has been some resistance. There has been some concern about ownership of the social technologies in enterprise. There's been concern about loss of IP. But the reality is there just haven't been that many solutions on the market. For years, ERP vendors, niche talent management players have talked about introducing social. They're plugging it onto their processes. Very few are actually incorporating social and the concepts of, profile management that combines social and formal, or the actual engagement and feeding of information, that the real bringing that into the DNA of the technology, as opposed to just plugging it on top of current HR processes. So when I look here at this stat, this is research that we've done, but it's consistent with research I've seen from many other firms. Succession, comp, performance, onboarding, less than 20% of organizations are using social for those things, and the majority is clearly recruiting. But we are getting there, and we're getting there for all the reasons that we've just talked about, and that Megan and Rob have talked about as well. So I'm going to drill down here for just a few minutes to talk about.
Are you serious? Are you going to drill down? Because I'm like overwhelmed. This is fantastic.
I'm drilled down already.
I know. Me too. Like, I'm there. I'm with you.
This is a lot of good info. But I have a question about the previous slide a bit. You know where I'm going to come from. I know I'm biased on this. I care a lot about internal mobility, and I didn't see that on the slide. As well as career planning. I mean, our experience has been with our customers that most employees say in their exit interview that the reason why they're leaving is because they don't see opportunities within the company. We're being poached via what I call the social theft engine, right? The Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We have our friends, we have our followers, we have our professional connections. They know who we are. We have a brand. We live a brand out there, and they're poaching us, and they want us to be working with them. However, when you ask HR and talent acquisition people, why they have no career opportunities for employees, 80% of, I would say probably for my customers' experience, 70–80% of the time they respond that in fact they did have a job or a project or a rotation or something that the employee could have taken and they would have avoided that loss or that attrition. I mean, isn't that something that social should be able to do, or uncover those connections, matching people to people, matching people to jobs, and these kinds of things?
Are you drinking the Kool-Aid?
Yeah. How are you feeling over there, Rob? How's that Kool-Aid?
Well, I mean, you're absolutely right? I mean, it is a crime, Rob. It's a crime that employees are leaving the organization when there are positions, opportunities, whether it's upward, cross, lattice-wide, opportunities for growth that exist, and employees aren't aware of them. But the fact is, HR has not been at the forefront of adopting these social technologies. You can see it here on the side. Now, I haven't asked the question specifically about, internal mobility, and we should, and in future surveys I will. But the truth is, there were concerns. Again, who owns the technology? Should this be an IT thing? And frankly, HR has been passive in this. They need to step up and take control of the people, processes in their organization. Take control and ownership for driving employee retention and mobility. And honestly, the way we work today, the expectations that the workforce is bringing around engagement, interactivity from social and mobile, social talent management is the wave of the future. It is the way that people will look to engage with organizations, and honestly, those things can change. One other comment here, Rob. As I said, the failure I've seen from vendors in this space, and so heads up to the HR, HCM technology vendors on the call and listening. The failure I've seen is this idea that you can just plug in to a social technology, that you can just add it on to your old style processes. That doesn't work. When you bring social into the enterprise, that is the opportunity for companies and for the vendors to look at the process and ask, how do we leverage this and really add value with social as opposed to adding noise? And a lot of companies are concerned that social is going to introduce disruption and a lot of distraction, and it will be anti-productive for work. But the truth is, used intelligently on intelligently crafted software, it transforms the way these things get done. And so suddenly visibility into those open positions and opportunities with the right technology, including things like matching engines, just transforms it. Totally changes it. So
I'm in nirvana. I have to just get that off my plate right now. Anyone else? Nirvana? Talent nirvana? It's happening right before my eyes.
So I'm aware, Megan, I'm aware here of the time, and so let me just hit a couple of key points, because, again, as I said, my gosh, I'm obviously super passionate about this, but more than just passionate, guys. I mean, I fundamentally do believe, and I've seen the proof points, that social technologies can change the way HR engages with people. But there's a couple of key points I want to make today in the time that we have, and one of them is around the criticality of the profile. Guys, there is so much information coming in from social technologies, right? When you're dealing with different social applications, it captures information about, who you are, your interests. You're able to feed information. And in fact, that's one of the benefits of using social in the enterprise is the propensity for people to volunteer information. I won't use the word broadcast to Megan and Rob, but I will say to volunteer information. How many times have we heard LinkedIn knows more about your people than your HRIS system? Yes, it's true, because people do bring and they offer up information about themselves. What are my interests? What are my goals? What are my experiences? Not just about my formal profile of the certifications I hold and the competencies that I've been certified with and tested on, but so many other elements. And moving forward, the key linchpin for success in social technologies, from my perspective, is having this combined profile that brings together your formal HRIS profile, so that's your employee record, your employment information coming in from your recruiting application and so forth, but it also blends it with informal and social elements. So the content you're contributing in the enterprise, the career interests that you have, the people that whose careers you would like to follow and model after, your aspirations, even the hobbies and the groups that you're associated with, all of that is data that needs to be combined, because once it's combined, you can mine that data. And good social technologies, good social applications won't just aggregate that data, that's a huge step, and surface it, but then engines, analytical engines that will match that information to other aspects of the social technology make a huge difference. Things like the ability to recommend. I mean, most social tools recommend who you should follow, content you should look at based on your profile or some elements, but the more information there, the more that these recommendation engines can deliver greater relevancy and context. And also you start getting into things like matching. I know at Utmo, Rob, you guys have a matching engine for matching, people's interests and aspirations to opportunities in the enterprise. I mean, that's really critical. It's also differentiating, because honestly, there aren't a lot of talent management applications who are really leveraging that. A couple of other aspects on the profile. It's got to be continuously developed. Ultimately, in the future, this is my nirvana, it will be fully portable. We're going to have a social profile wallet that we carry with us from job to job, but we'll talk about that on a future conversation. But really, the profile becomes the way employees manage their brand and reputation in the organization. How am I perceived, and how am I visualized in the organization? Am I respected? What's my communication and my collaboration style? How am I presenting myself to others in the organization, and how are they receiving me? That profile is really the nut that's going to serve as the focus point for brand management. Now, Megan, you do a lot in this space. What are your thoughts about this and what I've just said, brand management and the profile?
I mean, I think it's all, again, it's talent nirvana, right? I think that we are still at a place where I think what's happening is there's all these amazing technologies. Innovation is key. I mean, 2 years ago, none of this technology existed. Let's just keep this in mind. So, you know, I think, number one, I'm always going to go back to education. How can organizations be better prepared culturally for these technologies? The leaders who are actually making these decisions about tools, what sort of change management and policy changes are needed to happen at the top first, or from another direction coming into leaders saying educate, 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 engage, be that one, be the one leaders who are actually engaging, because if we're talking about ability to promote from within and provide these mobile opportunities, well, the only way to really do that is to get social, because these technologies are social by nature. So again, I think lots of excitement. I think we're still at a place where we're encouraging companies to embrace social, encouraging leaders to create that culture for themselves, encouraging employees to do so. Again, I think it's all really exciting. And I think that the technology, it's almost like the technology is here. We just need to, as humans and as people who have behaviors, need to adjust to that and make it happen, basically. I mean, you're always going to get that, you know, street feedback from me, because I'm still, as much as I am a leader, I'm still in the recruiting trenches also. I still, you know, to this day am recruiting.
You know, I drank the Kool-Aid already. And
how are you feeling? How's it going? What flavor is it?
I'm in Nirvana too. But hey, you're right. I think you're right that the profile has to be dynamic. People volunteer information on social networks, especially if they feel it's safe within the enterprise. However, it's not going to happen one day to the next. That's my only caveat that I want to mention. We've rolled out Upmo in several clients, and we do see people kind of timidly going in and checking it in. What's in it for me? How does this work? I start broadcasting. I'm using that word carefully there, but sharing what they're working on, what skills they're developing. They start checking in skills. You know, we all use Foursquare, or some of us use Foursquare, and we get very little out of it. But once you start checking in skills and realizing, wait a second, I can get something out of it, which is people are seeing what I'm working on, and people are going to tap me on the shoulder for opportunities. It's when social starts enabling excitement within the organization and for my career within the organization. Not outside, which is what I was doing.
You're exactly spot on. In fact, I've just moved to this next little slide here to talk about talent mobility, because the two things I wanted to cover today to make sure we left with is, recognizing with social coming into the organization and the importance of the profile and getting to know as much as possible and having insight into your talent. There's many processes. I showed you that screen before, onboarding and performance and goals, etc. But fundamentally, talent mobility, which for me has shifted in its definition, it is really about looking across the entire organization and saying, where's your place? How can you grow and develop and be a part of this organization, for as long as you want, as opposed to, for the next year until you get your next opportunity. So Rob, what you just said is fundamentally about mobility at all levels, not just at the senior levels, which is, where many people define mobility in the past. And so, when I think about mobility, I've talked about leveraging that profile, and there's many aspects. I mean, you've got to be able to surface the career opportunities, and then from there to develop the skill gaps, etc. And again, it's much more than we can really deal with on the time we have left today. But let's talk about a few fundamental characteristics of this mobility. First off, when you bring social into the organization, as we talked about earlier, there has to be a cultural shift, a shift to more open communication, but also we are seeing naturally, as companies are responding to the many changes in business and the workforce itself, is that there is a flattening of the organization. There are more of a blurring of the boundaries between the hierarchies and the different organizations, better conversations, etc. We're getting to more of a corporate lattice as opposed to a corporate ladder mentality, and from a career mobility perspective, that's critical, because many old style HR processes around career mobility always focused on up, up, up. But that's not the reality today. Today it's over and even down. You know, you might take a step back in title in order to open yourself up to new opportunities and then grow faster or further in a new direction. And that's the problem that you mentioned earlier, Rob, is that if companies are driving their career mobility with the idea that it's always up, many people aren't exposed to opportunities that they should be, that their interests and background would totally align to it. They're just not because you know the company only sponsored a pure up model as opposed to a lattice model. So we are definitely seeing more interest and success as people move from the traditional career management to more social. And you know, there's the models I've talked about. You know, HR driving some career management processes, but the real acceleration in results comes when you start embracing the social concept and opening up people's eyes to the opportunities in the company that they may never, ever have thought of. A personal experience, I had a gentleman working for me in the marketing department. He was a phenomenal marketeer and just really just pushing all the boundaries as far as success. But he actually has had a background in accounting, and he was very interested in moving over into corporate development. So we didn't have at my old job, at one of my former employers, a social career management. He had no idea when those opportunities became available. And it was only after the fact that I learned that, you know, if we had had that, he could have had visibility, and his success with the organization would have been much longer than it was. He ended up leaving to go and take that job at another company. What a loss for us, and what a disadvantage for him to have been forestalled on that opportunity because he didn't have visibility. I'll stop there. Rob, Megan, comments?
Wow.
You said it all. I'm just.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic. I think I'm still in Nirvana.
I'm in Nirvana. No question.
Well, let me just say then, you know, there are emerging technologies, right? And so we've talked about, you know, this is just hitting the surface on talent mobility, but I mean, I've given you a practical example, you know, of how to lose really good people for the wrong reasons. There are technologies out there for many of these transformative processes. I mean, I bring you an example here from WorkSimple, who focuses on goals, social goals, right? The process we take every day. It used to be an annual process for your performance review. How about flipping it on its head, as Megan said, and looking at goals and projects and task management from a daily, weekly, monthly basis and having better insight and communication. Social project management, here's another example from IBM. Again, collaborative, social, getting conversations across the enterprise. Rob, I put in a screenshot from the organization. Hey, you know, and again, so here's visually the ability for me to see, you know, different career paths and opportunities in the organization, and it's not necessarily in my particular, you know, job position. If I'm in product management, don't just show me careers up to the VP of a product. You know, show me different career paths based on what my personal interests are. Hook me up to people. So technologies I'm very excited about are really starting to bring new opportunities and capabilities into the organization, transforming the way people think about engaging with their employees, transforming the way employees think about engaging with their company, their employers. You know, it's really exciting. There are some great examples out there of some you know, success really starting to happen. I've put together a couple of quick considerations. I won't read through the details again.
Wait, hold on. Yvette just used the word quick. This is groundbreaking. This is groundbreaking. This is innovative. I love it.
Yeah, I do have to say, you know, again, I love technology. I love technology when it's intelligently designed and it can solve problems, but I don't like technology for its own sake. I like it when businesses, you know, get better outcomes. And in the case of some of the things that we've seen, I mean, I gave you a practical example. We lost people. We lost an individual because they didn't have insight. organizationally, our strategy should have been to make sure we have the best communications with our talent, to let them see all the opportunities. There is no reason to keep the stuff secret, guys. And so, you know, in Utmo or these other technologies, you know, they bring this information forward through their technology, and it's solving problems. Technology for technology's sake, I'm not interested in, but really cool technology that solves really tough problems, love it.
You know, one of the things we can do from a practical standpoint, because obviously I'm like you. I mean, I'm a tech nerd deep down. So this, you know, for me again, talent nirvana. But reality is, you know, how do we get the HR and recruiting world to justify jumping into this, even if the leader of their organization has not yet bought in? How do they align it with the business goal side? I think that's what we're really, if we're grappling with something today, that could be one thing we're grappling with.
Yeah,
you know, how do we get practitioners? How do we empower practitioners to go to the leaders and say, listen, engage, empower, do it now. You should have done it 12 months ago. What do you do? How do we align all those things together?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the silver bullet there, right? I mean, that's the big question. How do you get people to make the move? I mean, and you can talk about the business case. I mean, you know, I've put some information together here, you know, so there's some measurable benefits from adopting social technology. And the bottom graphic happens to be across enterprise-wide social technology. It's not unique to talent management. But there's so much research and information out there about some of the ROI. But listen, guys, I got to tell you, you have to even think when you're building your business case, because ultimately executives, CEOs, CFOs are going to want a business case for investment. And you can do that. You can bring in the expected benefits and ROI, but there's a more important ROI that you have to really bring forward in those conversations. And the reality is it's the risk of ignoring. If you don't embrace social technology in your enterprise today around your people processes, then you might as well close your doors and give your business to your competitors, because you will not win. That's how pervasive this mindset is amongst the workforce. The opportunities that are being brought forward by social technologies, it is the wave of the future. It's not just the next wave of awesomeness, although obviously it is pretty awesome, but it's the it's the future of work, guys. Working socially in these collaborative environments with these new technologies and transform processes is the future of work. And if you don't embrace this and you don't bring this into your conversations and take the lead and bring these technologies into your organization, you risk so much. You know, your ability to hire and engage with the right people externally, the ability to retain those high performers and high potentials, and to even identify them. I mean, there's so many technologies out there today that talk about identifying your high potentials, but the reality is it's just a checkbox. You don't really know who your high potentials are unless you have the social view of who those people are. What are their aspirations and their personal experiences that are going to affect their success in your organization beyond their formal profile? And too many organizations are making decisions on a siloed bit of information, such a partial view of who's in their workforce. So guys, the ROI that companies need to really be thinking about when they're building their business case, risk of ignoring. Now, we have so many other areas to talk about. We're not going to cover these, but I will just end my conversation to say depending on what your business use case is, I don't want to talk about social learning, social recruiting, etc. Let's talk about business case. Depending on what your driver is in your organization, you want to drive innovation, you want to cultivate better leaders, you want to improve customer success. There are social technologies and processes, right, that require those social technologies that are emerging. And this is just a quick view. I'm sure that these will be part of conversations in the future shows of the Social Talent Show. So let me stop there and just wrap up here from my perspective to say there are tremendous forces of change out there. There are business and people and workplace and technology forces causing a sea change in the way work gets done. You know, the future of work, though, is here today, and there are solutions and technologies out there that, you know, people really need to be paying attention to. At the end of the day, you need to start thinking about these things with the goal. Who do you want to be? What are your biggest drivers? And think about, you know, your end game and how can you get there. Don't just start by thinking about, oh, there's a technology, how can I use it? And frankly, ignoring this sea change is simply not an option.
I completely concur with everything that you're concluding with. I will say that leaders must get social. We don't have a choice to wait. I think leaders who do will be left behind. And I think part of this social media adoption is about behaviors. So as we sit here and we live tweet this afternoon, I want to say, a big thank you to you, Yvette. I think, we've learned so much from you. I am delighted on behalf of the talent culture and T-Chat community to be part of this. And I think we just have to keep talking and keep behaving and keep moving forward.
Well, thank you, Megan. It's all about conversations.
Very welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
It's all about conversations and behaviors. And I will blog about this until I am blue in the face. It is about leadership behaviors, employee behaviors, and that is what social media is in the workplace. And it's about getting real and authentic with our behaviors and having your personal brand and your work brand. They're both coming together as we speak. So let's all try to get authentic as soon as possible and have fun with what's happening in front of us, because I think we've got a very, very bright future ahead for talent management technology, and I'm super jazzed.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Yvette and Rob. So we've been monitoring the Twitter stream. We don't have very much time. We do have one question. If you guys do have questions, please use the chat or the question feature on the menu bar. Or use hashtag #TChat, and we will get those questions answered for you. But the one that I have for you, Yvette, or the rest of the team is how do we get leaders on board with social, business leaders?
Yeah, so from my perspective, again, business leaders need to understand how processes and technologies together can solve business problems. It's the same answer for any technology adoption. You have to demonstrate how can you bring and demonstrate business value back to the organization. And so, I would, again, talking with us, with Megan, with Rob, with others, look for the proof points, right? Look for the ways that a change in process and technology has driven better retention, better engagement, etc. I think first and foremost, though, that HR just has to realize the future is about social. Remove that bias and that wall that might have stopped them from moving in that direction, and start looking under the covers for those proof points. But fundamentally, they've got to make sure they're aligning with what are the business drivers and business needs. Rob or Megan?
Again, I'm going to probably repeat myself just very quickly. It's about behaviors. I think behaviors are driving business decisions right now. That's what's really happening.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it's. At the end of the day, you have to attach it to business goals and metrics. If the management has to see that there's value for them, there's a bottom line impact, a positive one, and it has to be attached to that. And HR needs to be a critical part of that transformation as well. So great. Well, we had an amazing first inaugural event here. So I want to thank everyone who joined, and we're going to put this up as well so that people can join later and watch at their leisure. But fantastic job, Yvette. I think we're thrilled to have you had you as our first guest.
Thank you so much.
I'm pumped. I'm excited about all the stuff you cover. So thanks for joining us.
You bet. Look forward to it again in the future. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. We had a really great time. Thanks for being with us.
All right, so I'd like to also thank everyone for attending. Also, please visit socialtalentshow.com to see the latest schedule for our upcoming thought leadership shows, as well as register for access to all the previous shows. Also, follow us on Twitter at socialtshow.com, and also hashtag #TChat for more disruptive social talent information. If you have any specific questions, please don't hesitate to also reach out to info@upmo.com. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Tweet.